Chapter 9 Memories. Alice and I managed to get Hal up the stairs and into his room. I stared along the walls painted with red ink. He has turned his room into a map of planning and unknowns. A white path that bent and twisted led to his bed. We followed the lines to avoid his plans that were painted across the floor. Hal's crazy, but he really thinks through everything. Other than these lines and a mattress on the floor, the room was empty. There was no clutter or lights, just red ink and white paint. Alice and I lay Hal on his bed. I looked to Alice, who seemed to be out of breath and worried. I'll admit, I'm just as confused as she is. I know the clue has something to do with Hal, but why is he passed out? Is the game maker playing with us again? Alice, what's going on? I asked reluctantly. I don't know, Blank. I don't know, she sighed. I walked out of the room. She followed the white path in a red field. I don't suppose you'll tell us? Hal didn't stir. I expected as much. I looked up at the ceiling. Seems Hal had even painted his plans there too. My eyebrows narrowed and a smirk made it across my face. How about you? You've answered me before. I spoke to the ceiling. A long silence was my answer. I rolled my eyes. Once I left Hal's room, I shut the door behind me. I stood in front of the closed room, staring down the hallway with even more closed doors in my face. I honestly don't know what to do next. This whole clue nonsense has thrown me for a loop. I walked down the hallway and the stairs, really unsure of what to do. I wandered around the first floor of the home, making my way slowly to the living room. The place seemed trash compared to the last time I had come in here. Paper balls and scraps of metal scattered around the room. I noticed Hal's whiteboard leaned against his chair, with a red marker next to it. I'm sure he won't mind, or if he did, it's not like he could say anything. I picked up the marker and laid the whiteboard flat against the floor. I began to write, clearing up my thoughts. Okay. So I know that the game maker thinks he's the god of this world. I know that he wants us to discover who he is. I also know that he can kill us at any time. He's made himself up to be an absolute ruler with no defiance. Is that why he put us here? To prove a point? I sighed a long groan before putting down the marker. A sound caught my attention. It was quiet. A small creak from the stairs, maybe? I stood from the floor, walking through the kitchen to see Eve, trying to sneak out the front door. What are you doing? I asked, tilting my head. She froze as if she was unsure if I was talking to her or not. After a moment of silence, I guess she figured that I was asking her. Eve turned around with a pale expression. Oh, hi, John, she sighed, pretending that she wasn't doing anything. Where are you going? Just out, you know? She smiled with a fake grin. What is she hiding? Eve, I know I've lost my memories, but I can still tell when someone is lying to me, I stated, rather tired. I'm going to the hospital, okay? Eve blurted. I thought I would have to pressure her harder for answers, but that was pretty easy. Why are you going to the hospital? Better yet, why are you trying to sneak out? She squealed, looking up to me, her face painted with salty tears. Eve, is something wrong? I asked, noticing that she was crying. I'm just really worried about Hal. I want to go to the hospital and see if Olive can help, she admitted. So why are you sneaking around? I questioned. Because I need to visit my grandmother. You know who your grandmother is? I questioned, really confused. Damn it. I mean, Alex. I call her my grandmother because she smells like cats? Eve lied, poorly. Do you think I'm stupid? I asked, almost laughing. No, don't laugh. Keep a straight face. I was really hoping you were, Eve smiled fake. So what's really going on? I asked. Fine, she huffed. I need to get some... What? I didn't catch that. She lowered her voice as red painted her cheeks. I said I need some... What? You wouldn't understand, she yelled, stomping out of the house. I stood in embarrassment. Total shock filled my expression. Laughter could be heard from upstairs. Shut up, I yelled to Alice. Oh, God. Priceless, she continued, laughing. I hissed at her, walking out of the house. Eve stood in front of the blue light fence with a sad expression. Eve, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked so many questions. I kicked myself for pushing her for answers I really didn't want. It's fine, John, but I really need to go now, okay? Can you turn that knob to the left for me? She asked, pointing towards the knob on the porch. Do you want me to come along? I offered. No, I don't, John. I just want to go and go alone, she persisted. Don't do it. Don't drag yourself into her business. Eve, are you okay? Just turn it off, John, Eve asked again. I sighed, doing what I was told. I don't really want to let her go like this, but no matter what I say, she's going. Eve climbed through the 2 fence posts with a smooth motion. I noticed she didn't run, but rather walked from the house. That's the first I've seen. I can't go after her. It would only end badly for both of us. I turned the blue light back on and sat on the porch. Eve is so energetic all the time. I still find her a little bit creepy, but also cute. Like a kitten. Cute, but at any moment can turn and bite your hand. Yvette. That's an interesting name. I don't know what it means, but it's pretty. She's pretty. I mean, like, in a friend way. A smile crossed my lips. Stupid mind. Can't even remember my name, but I can remember the dimples on her rosy cheeks when she laughs. I sighed, laying across the wood of the porch. I looked up at the cover, lost on my own thought. I closed my eyes, resting my tired bones in the artificial sun. My body filled with heat, creating drowsiness. I soon found myself in the blackness of my mind. Several hours later, I awoke to the sound of Eve's voice. Hey, get up, she called from behind the fence. I sat up, seeing the pink-haired girl waiting with a black bag that she wasn't carrying before. I stood tiredly, still half awake. I turned the kitchen dial, turning off the blue light. Eve wasted no time climbing over the gate. Seemed she got her energy back. The girl hopped to the side of the yard, walking over to me with a skip in her step. I turned the knob, turning the azure back on. Well, you look happier, I noticed. Yeah, I'm sorry I snapped at you, Eve smiled, with those dimples. It's okay, I returned her smile. A scream sounded from the house. Eve and I ran in with no hesitation. Alice was in the kitchen, with what looked like ash on her face. She looked to the staircase and stood to knock over some of the rubble from the table. I was the first to hold up the stairs with the 2 girls following me with haste. We made our way through the hallway to Hal's room. I opened the door wide to see Hal sitting upright in his bed. Sweat ran down his face as his chest moved rapidly with his breath. Hal, Alice called. She pushed me out of the doorway. She made her way over to the now awake boy. My name is Howard Christopher Cowell. I was born in Georgia, and I have a twin brother named Marcus. My birthday is August 14th, and I love pancakes, Hal blurted between breaths. You remember? Alice questioned. I remember everything, he gasped. Hal grabbed his neck. Long red claw lines traveled down his skin where it appeared someone had to claw against his flesh. How? What happened? I asked. The cell phone killer did it. His eyes locked on me with terror. Details? Eve asked. I was 18. It was a party for my brother's baseball team. His team was first in some stupid tournament. My parents loved sports, but I didn't. I had always been the oddball of the family. Didn't really help that I was gay. My parents hated homosexuality, though it could be cured, they thought. When I told them, they looked at me like I was some sort of monster that had possessed their son. It just came out. I wasn't ready to tell, and I'm pretty sure I never would have been. Any time would have been a bad time, except it had to come out in the middle of the party. My own mother called me a demon. Can you imagine? My own parents. Hal paused, as if he needed to think about the events to make sure they were correct. I ran out of our house, and Marcus, being the moron he is, followed me. Why couldn't he just stay inside? Enjoyed the party and just left me alone. I wish he just would have. I ran and ran and ran until I was out of breath. Marcus had no issue in keeping up with me. He had no idea, but unlike my parents, he was
okay with me. He told me I was still his brother and I could always count on him. That's when it hit me. Cold hands wrapped around my neck from behind. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even move. I saw my brother try and fight him, but it didn't exactly work. Someone else knocked him out with a fire extinguisher. Next thing I knew, I woke up here. 5 kids all just woke up with lost expressions and missing memories. We were all given a cell phone with our name on it, and that was it. Hal hit the wall in a rage. I didn't even know he was my brother. I forgot my own flesh and blood, he cried. How? I'm sorry. Did your brother... Did he... Eve asked with a shiver. He was player 2. I could see the tears running down his face, but his expression seemed more determined than anything. I can't let his death be in vain, he stated, standing from the bed. Eve, I don't know if this will help, but right as I blacked out, I heard something. And then I saw your name, Hal began. It was origami. Origami? Eve gasped. That's 7. The pink-haired girl rushed out of the room and into what sounded like her own. She came running back in with her computer. She ran back over to us, typing as if the keys themselves were on fire. Eve, what does 7 have to do with anything? I asked. Because, John, 7 is how many blanks there are on the code to break the game's firewall. Let's hope this doesn't blow up again, Eve laughed, crazed. She pressed enter, and we all braced for impact. A short ding noise entered my field of hearing. A large grin with wide eyes all around met our faces. I can't believe that worked, Eve expressed, relieved. Blue letters formed across the screen, just as they do every night at midnight. Enter access code 1. Another code? Eve growled with disgust. What does it mean by 1? This has to have something to do with Hal, right? Otherwise, why would the game maker give it to Hal and not Eve directly? Hey, Hal's player 1, right? I think I have an idea.